Blog Talk Radio.
Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot, oh my. It's just another night for Supernatural Girls. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only Supernatural Girls.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girls Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker, and I am here with my co-host, PK, all the way from Tucson. PK, I hear you're freezing out there.
I am freezing more than you know. I don't know where to start, my tip of my toes or the top of my head. It's not fun. It's damp.
No.
It's a damp cold.
Oh, that's terrible. Well, I apologize to everybody. You've got a bit of an echo tonight. We're going to try to see if we can fix it as we go forward. But in the meantime, we have a great show for you guys, and we don't want you to miss a minute of it. We have Maya Zahira is with us. She is the author of a book called Darkness Disguised as Light. We're going to hear about protection. What do you do for protection in the unseen realms? You're going to find out. But first, PK, do tell, what's going on with the numbers?
Well, I'll tell you what. The fun part about it is everybody's uptight. There's a lot of stuff going on, and people are angry about nothing. I had a little client call me, and she said, I don't know what happened. I was at work today, and she's a server. She said the person got mad, threw a sandwich at my face and my chest and said, and thought I was the manager. She said, I wished I was. I wouldn't mind being hit with it. Another one called. They said they had a big problem in a parking lot, and I had 3 people call to tell me how nasty other people are today, and they don't. The ones that are getting it are totally shocked and have been very docile, and the other ones are just revved up and ready to go. So
Isn't that something?
Sure, we're going to get some traffic accidents and some more nastiness on the streets, I'm afraid.
Oh, that's not good. Well, it just seems everybody's so antagonistic lately, and it's really important to be cool, calm, and collected and get centered, stay centered, you know? That's the most important thing.
Well, they're centered on being negative.
Yeah.
That's the bad part.
That's very
God.
bad. I know.
It is.
It's terrible.
But it's such a strain for everybody to maintain even a facade of trying to be okay. You notice that when you're driving, people are looking at each other, they're getting uptight, cutting off, and I'm going, wait a minute. I think I'll just stay home for a while.
Yeah, I know it. It's like, who wants to engage in that? Not me.
No, and then you take a look at today as it is, and I'm thinking of all things, people are supposed to be patient and tactful and be cooperative, and then we're taking a look, whose birthday is it today but Kate Middleton's? God bless that family. She's probably going off like a rocket.
Oh, geez. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, do tell now, what can we expect? And before we go on with this, I'm just going to, Maya, I know you're on the line, and unfortunately I have bad news. You are the cause of the echo, because I just put you in mute, and when I put you in mute, the echo disappeared. So I'm going to ask you to hang up and call back in, and let's see if we can get rid of that echo. Okay, Maya? And I'll look for you on the board when you call back in. Thanks. Okay, well, at least we figured out it wasn't us, PK. It wasn't one of us, so...
Well, I feel better because I'm on my landline right now, and I put the other line on mute so that I could see which one was which.
Yeah, so it's usually we don't have a problem with echoing, so this is how we unfortunately have to work things out on the radio board. So now we know it's not us, but hopefully it won't happen again when Maya calls back in, because she's a great guest, and we're looking forward to speaking with her without an echo.
Great
book. So, yes, it was a lot of fun to read. She raises some very interesting issues that I haven't seen addressed yet. So I think this is going to be very enlightening for everybody. And I need to know more. I need to know more from you about what's coming up. What are we going to be facing?
Well, I'm going to be very honest. What I'm picking up, this because of the anger situation that we're all going through, they just don't know how to tone down, because when we take a look at that, there's supposed to be a lot of creativity, a lot of communications going on. Well, it's definitely that, but this month is not allowing anything to be positive. It doesn't matter who it is. There's nothing nice to be said. The newscasters are back and forth with each other. The governmental situation is a disaster, and everybody's having a hard time trying to understand which way to go. There's nothing anybody can do right now except ride it out. Major changes are coming next month, and I'd look for something to happen around the 9th, give or take a little, maybe a day before, a day after. But it's next month.
You're talking about the 9th of February?
The 9th of February.
Okay, all right.
There's a lot of change going on, and those changes are almost like, I don't know how to put it. It's as if everybody's gathered up all of their negativity, and they're going to use it to pelt the other people on the other side when February gets here. But things are going to be said that are going to make it rather disastrous. If you notice, even on Facebook, people are saying, for God's sakes, quit talking politics. If you're going to talk politics, go someplace else. That's not the forum for it. But nobody's happy about anything. How can they be? Look at how many people are out of work right now, simply because of the governmental situation.
The shutdown. Well, I have to give some people credit, because when I was looking on Facebook, people had posted some hilarious photos of Schumer and Pelosi. I don't know if you saw them, but on Facebook. And it was just nice to see. At least you can have a little bit of fun. But they had
definitely.
God knows Beavis and Butthead posted alongside Schumer and Pelosi and said they looked like they were in a hostage crisis. I mean, it was pretty hilarious. I mean, people do get creative in a kind of a fun way sometimes, without
sometimes
being
we need that.
Totally mean. But sometimes it's funny, and it was. I mean, the way they did their shtick last night was hilarious, and people picked up on it and ran with it. And it's kind of nice to have a lighter hand with a lot of these things, because, like you said, there's not a lot we can do. We're all in this together. You know.
Some poor soul serving somebody else, and to have them take their food and throw it at them. I mean, that is just ridiculous.
It is crazy. I know it. I know what you mean. Well, I did see a funny story, though. In Brazil, there was a fighter, a girl who's a professional fighter, and she was walking down the street with her phone, and this guy approached her to mug her, to take her phone, broke her umbrella. Well, it turned out she was quite the fighter. She beat the crap out of the guy, and the guy was begging for her to call the police so that she wouldn't kill him. I mean, it was, and they had this kind of blow by blow, and it was very funny. I mean, just really taught this guy a lesson. So, he picked on the wrong.
They don't expect that of females. Lady. Well, you know, if you've noticed, even the duos that are on some of the talk shows and such as that, they're even a little uptight with each other. Each one's tried to make a point that it's going to get better, but none of them believe it. We'll take a look at we're taking a look for the Oscars. They can't even get somebody to host them.
I know. Isn't that crazy? Yeah,
Lord.
Yeah. You and I know why that is. It's just it's so over the top. All of these new rules, these PC rules. But you can try to force somebody to adhere to those kinds of rules, but you also force it underground. And the other thing is, then you're on a hunt for people's past. And what did they say 10 years ago, 20 years ago? It gets ridiculous.
Well, that's ridiculous. That's what's going to create even more angers, because there's going to be blow-ups about what they assume may have been or what was meant then. How do you remember? I've said something 10 years ago, and somebody asked me to clarify it right now. I'd probably have to go, let me see if I've got a note for it. And the odds are I don't. None of us do.
Yeah.
God,
I know it. It's just, it's gotten a little
better
crazy.
Day.
It will be a better day, I think. But, you and I have long talked about the mainstream media. They're not to be trusted. They have their own agenda, and we know that for fact because of the way they've been told to disregard UFO reports, and the only ones they're releasing are the ones that they're told to release. So they're not the journalists of the past. They are
definitely
paid
not.
and bought. They're bought, and so they're only going to say what they're told to say. And I've talked to a lot of journalists who say they've tried to get UFO stories out into the public eye, and their editors won't let them out. Nope, we're not going to publish that. We're told not to. So, okay, well then we know not to trust you guys because girls because you're not telling the truth. You are no longer journalists. You're just paid shills. So,
I like that phrase. That's true.
Yeah,
that's exactly true.
And that's one of the reasons our show is so popular, because we bring people on our show who are experiencers, who've been abducted, who've seen these UFOs, and they're willing to talk about it. They've got enough courage to step forward and to say, hey, this is what happened. And some of them are, directly related to the military. I saw a great show, UFO Cover-Up, the other night. History Channel is taking all of this by storm right now. If any of you haven't seen that one, I recommend that. Project Blue Book, they started that as a scripted show. But again, we've had so many of these people on our show that are now, you're watching them on television, like Clifford Stone. They had a big piece on what he did. He was an interfacer with aliens, and he's been on our show. And a lot of these people that have come forward and faced possible death threats or death because they're talking the truth. So these are the people we turn to. That's why we bring them on the show. Let's give everybody a perspective that's based in reality. And the people that we bring on the show, they're the ones that we listen to. And this is why. Mainstream media, forget about it. They're doing something.
They don't even know who they are anymore.
No, yeah, exactly. Who pays them? I don't know. But anyhow, so we do have some paranormal news. But before we get to that, I do want to mention we're in January now. And you know and I know this is property tax month. You have 30 days. 30 days, count them, to file your abatement with your assessors, to look at your property record card, to find out what's going on. People don't even know how to read their own property record cards today. And I want to urge you to get attorney Patricia Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It, because it's a complicated field. You have to have somebody lead you through it, and Attorney Quintilian has done a great job with this book. It's simple to understand the way she puts it forward, but honestly, you have 30 days to file your abatement if you don't agree with how they're taxing you, and if you miss the deadline, you're done. That's it, kaput for the year. So I just talked to somebody the other day, and they said they just raised my assessment $40,000. That's a lot. It's a lot.
You bet you.
So
that's more than some people make in a year.
Yeah, and some people won't even know they've been raised because they haven't even looked at their tax bill yet, and they haven't looked at the value that the assessors have placed on their property. So they're out of luck. So I want to urge you, get that book, Are You Being Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. You can get it on Amazon. You'll have it in a day. It is a great book. I recommend it as a gift to anybody you know who owns property, because you don't want to be unpleasantly surprised and have to pay more than you owe. So we have some great stories on our Facebook page, those angel stories. Did you get a chance to see all of those? Tons of them. People have encountered angels on the highway, on the roadways. They've been saved from accidents, but all of these stories were compiled on Mysterious Universe, and we reposted them on our Facebook page. They're very, very inspiring, wonderful, wonderful stories, and a lot of them I have heard, and I know you have too, but some are brand new, like about the man who stopped to pick someone up by the side of the road, an old gentleman. He picked him up, and he had a bag with him, and he came to a field, and the man said, just let me out here. And the guy was like, well, there's nothing here. Are you sure this is where you want to be left off? And he's like, don't worry about it. I'll be fine. So he let him off, but then he left his bag behind. So he grabs the bag to go get to the man and give it back to him, and he's gone. Can't find him anywhere. So he looks in the bag, and it's empty. So he keeps driving. and he comes to a very serious accident, and he realizes it involved the car that was behind him. Had he not stopped and picked up the man by the side of the road, he would have been in that accident. So he keeps the bag with him to this day, every time he gets in his car. So
I don't blame him.
Like
I would too.
I take it everywhere with me. So obviously, he met an angel who saved him along the way. So great stories for January, for inspiration, to read about these encounters with angels. It's on our Facebook page. Make sure you go there, give us a like, follow us, as well as on Twitter. And I'm sure that you will get a kick out of these stories. They're just great. Now, also,
I think they're fascinating, absolutely fascinating. When we think that's our one way of truly meeting something, if you're not a believer, you'll still end up having to believe after something like that happens.
Yes, and it's something that you'd want to have happen to you if, God forbid, you were in a dangerous situation. So, yeah, it's nice to read that because it opens your mind to more possibilities. And as a friend of mine once said, all things are possible all of the time. And it's a nice way to think. So these stories will help you think.
That's a good way to think.
Yeah, exactly.
That's for
exactly.
sure.
So we also have a UFO sighting that was sent thanks to Mr. Bob Luca. And Bob and his wife Betty are the authors of the new book, A Lifting of the Veil. If you guys haven't read it yet, you need to get it. It's a great book. It's a follow-up to The Andreasen Affair, which was a bestseller on the New York Times list when it first came out in 1980. It has been reprinted. It's available again along with their new book, A Lifting of the Veil. So Bob was kind enough to send us this UFO sighting that took place in Massachusetts about half an hour from here, in East Hampton, and I'll just go over it really quickly, and then we need to get our guests back on the air here. But anyways, this person wrote about driving home from work south on Route 5 near Island Road when he saw 3 stationary bright white lights hovering over the Connecticut River between Mount Tom and Skinner Mountain. And the lights were odd since planes usually have the lights on their wings flashing. And this was a pure, bright, white light, not a yellow light that incandescent bulbs emit. And the center light was level with the other 2 and was pulsating separately. So the center light emitted a more rainbow-like light. I mean, this guy got very detailed. Similar to a moon, but was mostly white passing. So anyways, he thought maybe it was a plane coming in for a landing, but there were no standard blue, red, or green flashing lights to indicate it was an aircraft. It also did not waver up or down. It remained stationary in the sky. And he had been pulled over for about 30 seconds. He thought maybe it was a dual propeller helicopter. I mean, clearly this is somebody who knows aviation, but it was much too large to be that. So again, that's a MUFON listing, and it's right from near here in East Hampton. So again, as you predicted, PK, more and more we are seeing these sightings. They can't deny it. They can refuse to talk about it, but guess what? We're seeing it. Yeah, they can.
Well, you know what? I think they're looking for you.
They might be. Do I need to put something up on the turret? We're here?
Yes. I think so, honey. I hate to tell you, but I think so. You're letting their secrets all out, and they are not going to like it.
Oh, well, I think the ETs do like it. I think it's who doesn't.
I'm not talking about the ETs. I'm talking about the government.
Oh. Well, that's okay. That's all right. Maybe they'll learn something if they talk to me. So
you think? I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, we need to have a tete-a-tete, huh? A little powwow here.
That's a good idea. Ooh, could we do that? We'll set it up for when.
Yeah, right. Whenever they want to come. As long as it's not the middle of the night, because I'm not really with it then. I want to have my wits about me if they're here. So, anyways, we are talking about psychic protection tonight. And we're going to bring Maya Zahira on because she has some great information. She has her own personal journey of psychic discovery and paranormal experience to share with us. She is a psychic medium herself. She will not be doing live readings this time, maybe another time, but she is just, her book is filled with great information. And like I mentioned before, some issues that I think need to be addressed that have not been raised previously amongst people in the spiritual and psychic community. So we're going to bring her on. Hopefully there will be no echo. Let's give it a try, okay?
Okie dokie.
See what happens. So, Maya, welcome to the show.
Hi, ladies. Is the sound okay?
It
So
sounds
far.
great.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm so glad.
You got rid of the little gremlins. Good job.
Good. Yeah.
Nasty little
I think
critters
we were having some interference. Yeah.
Well, it's gone now.
Good. Well, thank you, Patricia and PK. I'm so excited to be on your show. I discovered your show several months ago, and I binge listened to many, many hours, and I just loved it. And so I'm just really tickled to be on your show. So thank you for having me.
We're happy to have you.
Yes, it's totally our pleasure, and we're thrilled you reached out to us, and we're certainly always grateful when we have loyal listeners like you that enjoy the shows that we're presenting to everybody. But you've got a great story to tell, and you've written a wonderful book called Darkness Disguised as Light. Terrific title. So tell us about you. You've had quite the journey down the psychic road. Tell us how it got started.
Yes. Okay. Well, let's start with the basics. First, just to let everybody know, since I think most of the people listening probably don't know me, although I did let my students know, so a lot of them are probably listening in. My name's Maya Zahira, as Patricia mentioned, and I'm a spiritual teacher. I'm an author. My business that I do sessions and classes with is called Psychic Protection Sanctuary. I'm also a professional psychic and an energy healer. So all of those skills really work together to help me to support others who are having psychic protection issues. But here's the thing. I have been a spiritual teacher for over 25 years actually now, and I've worked with energy healing clients for about 20 years. And during most of that time, I always did recognize the importance of healthy energy management, is what I call it, managing my energy, teaching my clients how to manage their energy. As a very sensitive, energetically sensitive person, I had to learn how to go out into public without being bombarded by other people's energies. So I always understood that psychic protection was important, and I taught it to my students. But when it came to working with clients, I totally avoided working with anyone who had any really serious psychic protection issues. And by that, I mean like entity attachments, psychic attack, really dark stuff attached to them, and that sort of thing. I didn't want to touch that stuff with a 10-foot pole. And I laugh about that now because now that's the main thing that I do is I work with people who are having psychic protection issues, and I teach classes on it. And it's funny that, you know, the powers that be had to set things up for me to experience a really, really horrific experience myself in order to teach me and align me so that I could step up and do this work. And Patricia, you mentioned about people who've been coming forward with their alien and UFO stories, even though they might be put in danger. And I immediately thought about how when I decided to write my book and start to come forward with my story, that was after I had tried to start telling some people, and as a result, I was violently attacked by an entity. And so it took a lot of bravery for me to come forward, and still I've been really stubborn and tenacious. I've still come forward and done my work, and I think that the dark forces have just kind of put their hands up and said, well, she's still gonna do it. She's still gonna do this stuff, because there definitely were some interferences and some negative actions towards me to get me to back down and not share the messages that I've been sharing and that I'm going to share with all of you this evening.
Well, we're grateful for your experience, that you lived through it, and that you're brave enough to share this with the rest of us, because certainly it does appear that a lot of entities are coming through now more than before, that we have the ability to sense them. We may not know that we're at the effect of them, but that's why we have you on the show, to talk about all of this, so we can determine if we are at the effect of something that needs to be cleared. So it's very important, very important. But before we go any further, I see we have somebody on the line who has a question. We will get to you, I promise. And if anybody else has a question for Maya, you can call in at 563-999-3539. Again, that's 563-999-3539. And again, Maya's not doing readings, but she will answer your questions. So Maya, do tell us something about your experience. This one that was so terrifying. Yes. What happened?
Yes. Okay. So, so the backstory is really important because it actually gives a glimpse of what's going on behind the scenes spiritually, actually in many New Age and spiritual and metaphysical communities right now. So what happened to me is actually not uncommon. It was about 3 years ago. I went through a crazy psychic attack experience. I mean, it was stranger than fiction. I'm not even creative enough to have made this story up. I swear to you. It was just so strange. I'm not even creative enough to do that. And so what happened was I was experiencing what I would now call a minor psychic attack. There was somebody that I had come in contact with who was sending some bad energy my way, and I started to notice some minor symptoms of psychic attack, nightmares, and just some weird energy going on around me. And so because of that, and because I'm very sensitive and attuned energetically, I realized, there's something going on. So I happened to connect with a spiritual teacher who says that she specializes in helping people with entity issues and psychic attacks. And I said, oh, great. And I saw her as a colleague. I connected with her at a public event, and I said, this lady seems really awesome. She feels like a sister to me. I mean, just great energy. I was really drawn to her. And I said, maybe she has some ideas that I don't have, because I was going through this minor psychic attack, and let me schedule a session with her and let's see if she can give some of her expertise. Well, that was the beginning of Crazyville. I mean, it just went crazy after that. So as soon as I connected with this spiritual teacher, I had a couple of private sessions, and I went to a couple of group classes where she was channeling angel messages. As soon as I started working with her, all sorts of crazy stuff happened. So what started as a really minor psychic attack with just a little bit of weird energy just blew out of proportion, and there were lights flashing in my house, that I was seeing demons in my house and attached to me. My computers and electronic devices were going crazy. Animals, specifically birds, were acting really strange around me. There were these crows that would, when I would go outside to write in my journal, they would fly and land in a tree, and they would just stare at me and squawk. They were acting very odd. And I started having experience.
What was causing this, Maya?
So at the time, I didn't know. I was trying to figure it out. And I also was having experiences of lost time where I would be like, okay, wait a minute. I thought that it was this time, and now it's this time. It's 5 hours later. What happened? So reality was bending, okay? So this crazy stuff is happening. I'm wondering, have I lost my sanity? And so I'm trying to figure out what is happening. Why can't I clear this? And meanwhile, I keep contacting the spiritual teacher, asking for her help, telling her things are going crazy, help. And she then, what happens is she becomes less and less and less responsive to my messages, to where I was just like desperate to get a hold of her until one day I had been on the floor doing some yoga, and I was in this very relaxed state. I made myself get on the floor because I was very anxious. Like dealing with seeing demons in my house, lights flashing, all this stuff. I don't have any help. I'm trying to figure it out, and so I'm like, okay, I got to calm myself down. So once I got done with my yoga practice and my mind was more relaxed, I had this sudden epiphany. It was like I just saw the truth. I had acquired a piece of jewelry and a book from this spiritual teacher at one of the public events that I had attended. And when I stood up from doing yoga, I just happened to glance at the book that was sitting there on the table, and I saw it in a whole new way. There was the book had this design on it that when you would look at it, you wouldn't think anything. It just looked like a heavenly, like a picture of heaven or something. But when I was in this relaxed state and I saw it in a whole new way, I realized there were demon faces all over the design of the book. I mean,
oh my goodness.
I took a picture of the cover, and I sent it to my friend, and I said, "What do you see?" And she called me up, and she said, "Oh my gosh, I see like 30 different demon heads hiding in plain sight on this book cover." And then I go and I grab the jewelry, the piece of jewelry that I had gotten from the teacher that I had actually put on my bedside lamp for protection as soon as I had acquired it from her. And my friend and I talked for about 2 hours, and I tried to unwind the whole story of how everything had unfolded and how crazy everything had gotten. And I was able to identify that the point where everything started was when I first connected with this spiritual teacher at her event, and things went really crazy after I acquired the piece of jewelry and the book. And
so you think it was her?
Like,
that it was coming from her energy that
yes.
she was. I guess that's where you get the title for the book, "Darkness Disguised as Light," because she was supposed to be a
yes.
spiritual teacher and assisting people on this journey. And what you found is that it set off a whole path of darkness.
Yes. Now, yes. So keep in mind.
Do you see her
also,
as a person? Does she?
Yes.
Does she, at this point in time, seem to give the same illusion of darkness, or has she reverted back to someone that you considered open and more of a light?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it actually, for a while after this happened, a couple of friends of mine and myself, we were trying to figure out exactly what happened, and does she know, or is there something working through her? And I actually saw the entity that is attached to her because it attacked me. So I saw what it looks like, and I've also, since that happened 3 years ago, I've had some experiences with other similar entities working with my clients. So now, in hindsight, I am 100% sure that this is what I call a false light entity that's working with her. This is actually a very common thing that's happening in the New Age and metaphysical communities, is that there are entities that are imposters that pretend to be light beings. So in this instance, she actually the teacher tells a story of how 30 years ago she was very, very depressed and desperate and cried out to God for help. And then in her time of need, these angels appeared to her. I am 100% positive those were not angels that appeared to her. It was a false light entity. And in working with some of my clients as well, what I've come to understand is that a false light entity can actually present itself as several angels or an ascended being or one angel or Archangel Michael or anything, a fairy. And it's very convincing, very convincing. So these angels that she's been serving for all of these years are not angels. They are a false light entity. And when I came to understand this, when I was talking to my friend over the phone and we were trying to hash this out, we realized that the piece of jewelry that I had acquired from her was actually being used as two things, a portal and a surveillance device. So even though I had done absolutely perfect protection around, I created protective fields around my property and I was doing all this clearing, I still had this piece of jewelry at my bedside and it was allowing direct access of her entity to me. And it was a surveillance device because when we looked at it, once we realized what it was, when we looked at it, we could see that the piece of jewelry, it had a stone on it that looked exactly like an eye. And I don't know if you've seen the Lord of the Rings, but the Eye of Sauron on the Lord of the Rings, that's what it looked like.
Wow. Well, so you obviously got away from this person, right? You left her in the dust.
Yes, I did. I blocked all contact with her. I did strongly consider, should I tell her? Does she know? Does she not know? She seems like such a lovely person, and I just felt terrible for her. And I strongly considered telling her, hey, you've got a false light entity attached to you. Or maybe she knows and she is still, who knows. But I had a dream about 6 weeks after I got free of all of that. And in the dream, I walked into a metaphysical shop and she was there and we smiled at each other. I've always liked her personally. So I walked up to her. I really wanted to help her. And she seemed friendly and approachable, and so I told her what was really happening in this dream. And in the dream, then as soon as I told her what was happening, her eyes turned black, and things became very dangerous for me. And I woke up, and I thought, okay, mental note, Maya, as much as you want to directly tell this person, you cannot. It would be dangerous. So my approach has been to help educate the public. And one thing that happened after I went through all of this was I went through a couple of months where I was getting what I call direct downloads. All of this information about psychic protection and what's going on in the unseen realms, what are false light entities, how do they operate. I was having visions and receiving all this knowledge. And there were a few times when I would just be talking to people about this stuff, and I would think, how do I know this? I didn't read it in a book anywhere, but I know it. And those downloads happened as a result of this, of getting free from this psychic attack.
Gosh, it's amazing. All this material came to you, and I know you're going to share some of it with us tonight. Let's take the question from this person who's called in. This is area code 216. Hi, you're live on the air. What's your name?
Yes. Hi, my name is Patricia. Thank you for taking my call.
Oh, hello, another Patricia. What's your question for Maya, Patricia?
Yes. I I'm hearing some of the experiences she had, and it struck my interest. I have had some interesting experience. I want to get some clarity. I'm here in Cleveland, Ohio, and I was born and raised here, but I lived elsewhere. And I've moved back here twice, and it's always been when I stepped here in this place, and it seems like I'm just being pummeled with so much negative energy, negative people, and I felt that I was living in Los Angeles and felt like the same way too. But anyway, some of the experiences I've had here, it's just like I've felt like and I've isolated myself, but to mainly protect myself, like I'm being psychically attacked. I mean, people I don't know, or have very, some familiarity with, saying like a teacher, because I was going to college and I just stopped because the males were just, in that particular discipline, they were just really attacking me, meaning, bullying me.
So what's your question for Maya tonight, Patricia?
How can I protect? I'm an empath and highly sensitive. What protective tools can I gain? Because each day I use a pranic healing protective technique to surround me in the violet ball of light and envision myself in there. But I've just been so attacked these 6 years I've been here. What else can I do? And I mean, I hear a lot of people saying surround yourself in the white light. Whether there's any validity to that, I don't know. I do my ground myself, meaning doing breath work. What else can I do?
So Maya, what do you suggest for Patricia with this issue?
Okay. Yes. So Patricia, thank you so much for your question. As you were talking, I was tuning into you, and yes, I do believe, just to confirm for you, to validate that, yes, I do feel that you are under psychic attack. I'm seeing a lot of dark energy swirling around you. And what I would say about the violet light exercise that you're doing, it feels like that is helpful to you, but as you've noticed, it doesn't take care of the more serious issues. So there's actually a difference between what I call maintenance techniques and emergency techniques. So the maintenance techniques would be like visualizing white light, and the violet light techniques that you're using, grounding, all of those really nice self-care techniques that you would use on a daily basis are wonderful. But what you need are more of the emergency techniques for clearing out a psychic attack. There are several things that you would need to do. And we won't be able to go into all of the steps, but I would recommend that you go ahead and get the book, because I really think that would be helpful to you. I promise you I would not recommend it if I didn't think it's exactly what you need. I think it's going to be a really good bang for your buck, because it's going to help you. You mentioned that you are very sensitive. You're an empath. There's a lot of information in there to help you as an empath, and there are also some step-by-step processes near the end of the book that are going to get you started in clearing the psychic attack. Specifically, and this is helpful for anyone else who gets the book who's currently under psychic attack. In the book, there's instructions on how to do a candle technique and instructions on burning plant resins for clearing. And those were the two main techniques that I used to clear out what I would call an extreme psychic attack. So it worked for me when I was having like a 10 out of 10 psychic attack. Yours, I would say, on a scale is about 7, which is still very stressful and scary. So I would go ahead and get that book, Darkness Disguised as Light. Make sure that it's the one by me, because there's another one out there by somebody else. So this is by Maya Zahira. That will help you get started. There's so much in that book, I think, that will help you. Also, I'm going to go over some techniques, some things that will be helpful for you in the rest of the show as well. Okay, Patricia?
Okay. The Darkness Disguised as Light?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, now, do you have a website?
I do. It's psychicprotectionsanctuary.com. psychicprotectionsanctuary.com. Yes. And at the end, I'm going to give some other information, so go ahead and stay on, because I'm going to give the whole list of different ways you can receive support.
Okay, and I'm assuming this is what available through your website and Amazon?
Amazon is the place to go.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling, Patricia.
Yeah, thanks for your call, Patricia. Good luck. Well, that was a great question. Okay. We're going to take a very short commercial break, and then we're going to come back so that we can hear more of these protections that we need to learn about so that we keep our energy nice and clear. And again, we are speaking with Maya Zahira tonight. She is the author of the book, Darkness Disguised as Light. You are listening to Supernatural Girls Radio, and we will be right back.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the source. With cosmic fusion, the source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.KOSMICfusion.com, to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Astridian is a family of cosmetic products with 98% pure ionized minerals. We combine our science with a blend of essential oils to nourish and take care of your skin's health. How does it work? All Astridian products contain the proprietary redox technology, having the capability of simulating an ionic zinc-copper superoxide dismutase effect. This free radical scavenger currently in your body has been diminished by toxins and the daily stresses of life. It is a perfectly balanced mineral complex that all $200 an hour dermatologists, their professors, and ancient history have proven. Redox technology is a process of reducing the skin's oxidation by transferring electrons from a radical state to a stress-free normal condition. Oxidative stress is a form of cellular aging, and as science has proven, a precursor to disease. The free radical theory of aging states that organisms age because cells accumulate free radical damage over time. Damaged cells are not beautiful, but healthy cells are. The Astridium family is presented in 4 different uses that cover unique benefits to your body. They are the Essential Anti-Aging Series, the Multivitamin Series, Sports Series, and Professional Series. Regain your youth with the power of Astridium. Visit www.astridium.com and inquire. Use the code SUPERNATURAL and receive a 10% discount on your first purchase. Astridium, the beauty of being healthy.
Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girls Radio. I am your host, Patricia Baker, and I am here with my co-host who is freezing in Tucson. Sorry to hear that, PK.
And it's raining again, and I'm freezing even more.
Oh,
I look like
God,
a little Eskimo. I wouldn't wrap myself up in a blanket while we're sitting here talking.
Oh, no. Well, I also want to say to everybody, at the beginning of the year is a great time to have your numbers done by Miss Patricia Kirkman. And you can find PK at patriciakirkman.com. You can also find her on our website, supernaturalgirls.com. And if you would like a soul realignment session, then feel free to reach out to me. I am on the Supernatural Girls website. Be happy to talk to you more about soul realignment. We actually had the creator of that on the show. It was quite an interesting show. And it's a great system. It's another tool that I have in the toolbox for people who are looking for incredible transformation. It works extremely well. So don't forget to contact us. We'll be happy to set up an appointment and answer any questions you may have. Now, tonight, we are speaking with Maya Zahira about darkness disguised as light. And it is a problem today. And Maya, one of the things I wanted to talk a little bit about before you get into the actual protections that we can use, you bring up that there is also a Me Too movement going on in the spiritual community. And people have to be aware of this too, right?
Are you referring to the sexual predator issue that I talked about in the book?
It's not a community that is foreign to this. I mean, this happens everywhere. And it has happened, and it continues to happen in the spiritual communities. And you point that out in your book, and I thought you did a great job with that subject. People need to be aware that predators can be found in spiritual communities as well.
Yes, indeed. They certainly can. And what's most insidious about it is that many times people are going to a spiritual healer or a spiritual event because they are in a vulnerable state already. They're going through something difficult, and so they're already vulnerable. They emotionally vulnerable, and they connect with a spiritual teacher, or they go to an event, and somebody latches on to them who is a predator, and they don't see it coming because they really think that it's a safe place. They wouldn't even imagine that going to a Reiki healer or a Reiki circle or some other spiritual kind of event would even put them in harm's way at all. And so actually, for this reason, this is why there are a lot of sexual predators who like to connect with these kinds of spiritual activities, because they know that it's like a feeding ground. There's all of these people. There's a lot of sexual predators that are men, but there are some that are women as well. But there's all of these both men and women spiritual seekers that are at these spiritual events that are opening their hearts and opening their energy wide open, and it's all about we are all one and love. And so they're not even thinking at all to be on high alert. And that's when the predator comes in and connects with them and says, I could really help you. And I actually am privy to several stories, very heartbreaking stories of people who connected with a spiritual teacher And then the spiritual teacher would spend quite a lengthy time grooming the person, as a sexual predator does, grooming them, gaining their trust, and then over time, then they would manipulate them into a sexual relationship. And some of these predators had, 20 or 30 people they were doing this with at once. And
Gosh.
It's just phenomenal.
Well, you issue a very good warning in your book about all of that, and you're right. People do usually seek out someone to help them on this path when they are vulnerable, and they don't expect to find a predator in the community, and certainly they exist there too. So I know PK and I are very glad that you brought that out into the open. I think that needs to be discussed, and people need to be aware of it so that they're not blindly going into these relationships and they miss the red flags that would tell them that they're really with a predator. So that's a good job in the book.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't check your discernment at the door when you go to any kind of activity, no matter what it is. You can certainly go to spiritual activities and events and really enjoy yourself, but you do need to continue to use your discernment. And one thing that might be of interest to the listeners is the section where I talk about the sexual predators. I also go into detail about energy cords, about what they are and how sexual predators use them. So an energy cord is a cord, a tube or a hose of energy that connects from the person to the victim. And energy can go both ways. So the predator will hook an energy cord into their victim, and then they will suck life force energy from them. And they will also, here's the real tricky part, they will also send energy to their victim, and they'll send the energy of strong sexual desire. And then the person receives this, and they think that those feelings are their own, when in fact the feelings are coming from the perpetrator, from the sexual predator. And the reason why they're sending all of those feelings is to manipulate the person to in order to have sex with them. And this is actually something that was a huge epiphany that I was able to see in a vision. And I actually know several women who've been harmed by sexual predators. And the most common thing that they said was, well, I consented to it. I agreed to it. And it's like, yes, but what I've been able to see as a clairvoyant is that what was happening was the predator was hooking an energy cord into them and manipulating them. And if anybody's listening to this who has had one of those weird situations with a spiritual teacher and you've been blaming yourself, you need to understand that you were being manipulated energetically. Okay, so that's an important factor there.
Very important. Yes, thank you for bringing that out into the public eye. I think it's critical. People need to know this. This goes on everywhere, and it certainly goes on here in the spiritual community. So tell us more about what other techniques we can use. Now, you talk about the cord. Is there a way to cut the cord?
Yes, actually, it's actually fairly easy to cut energy cords. There's a technique that I go into in my book, and then also you can go onto YouTube and type in energy cord. You could type in cord cutting meditation, and you'll find thousands of really lovely meditations that you can do. You can also go to an energy healer who knows how to remove non-beneficial energy, who can cut cords for you. So cord cutting is not super complicated. Again, it can be done through a meditation. It gets trickier if somebody who is a master has hooked into you. then you might have to go to a professional and have them unhook those cords. I am going to take you through some techniques, though, in a little bit that will definitely help with your protection.
We want to hear those, but before we go into that, I want to mention that there are, this is a shamanic technique also, because there were these twins, these ladies that came from Peru, and one of the things that they did as a part of their healing ceremony for the individuals they worked with is they had these enormous rusty old shears. And I know when people saw those coming at them, they would probably wanted to run out of the room. But they used the shears, symbolically, but also they did the cutting all around the person to make sure that there were no cords. So this is a part of shamanic history, and certainly these twins have carried forth this tradition, and they come here every once in a while from Peru and treat people. But it's interesting that you talk about this also in contemporary times. It actually has very ancient roots.
Yes, it really does. And I feel like in order to do it properly, I could certainly take us through a meditation, but it would probably take the whole rest of our time. And I want to make sure that we cover some more content. If that's okay,
Absolutely.
ladies?
Yeah,
okay,
definitely.
Cool.
You want to get as much
After
out
all,
as possible.
The book is available for them to get a hold of and take a look at.
There's actually something else that I wanted to cover that's in my book that I keep getting my angels are saying, make sure you cover this one thing. It's super important. That apparently whoever's listening to the show needs to hear about this. So listen up, everybody. There's a whole section about this in Chapter 6, Lesson 6 of my book. And by the way, every chapter in my book is it goes into details of the story that I went through, which I barely scratched the surface about the psychic attack that I went through. Everybody tells me when they read about it, they can't put the book down. They just want to keep reading and find out what happens. But anyway, so every chapter has more about the story, about what I went through. And then at the end of every chapter is a lesson. And that's where you're going to get your information about psychic protection, what psychic attacks are, how they work, what false light entities are, what makes you vulnerable to psychic attack in the first place, what are energy cords. And then here's the one topic that my angels keep saying I need to make sure that we cover. And it's this: 2 indications that entities are attaching to you. And we were talking about predators in the spiritual community. This is for any of you who enjoy going to either energy healers or sound healing concerts, channeling events, psychic fairs. All of those are wonderful and really fun and uplifting activities, but a lot of the metaphysical and spiritual community has been infiltrated by false light entities, and since a lot of genuinely good spiritual seekers and teachers don't know about false light entities, they don't even realize that they have false light entities attached to them. So when they put on an event, they don't even realize that they're putting their participants in danger. So you have to remember that you can't put your safety in the hands of whoever's putting on the event or whoever runs the studio or whatever. You can't put your safety in their hands. You have to be informed. And that's why I want to tell you about these 2 indications that entities might be attaching into you. This happens so frequently at spiritual events, so you need to be aware. The first indication that dark beings are attaching into you is that you suddenly feel very ill. So you start to feel very sick all of a sudden. You feel maybe shaky, dizzy, nauseous. Your head will start to spin. You feel like you need to lie down. You feel weak. Maybe you feel like all of a sudden you're coming down with the flu. That is a surefire indication that something has started to hook into you or has hooked all the way in. And when you have that sudden feeling, it means that when something like that hooks into you, it causes your vibration to plummet. And that's what causes those symptoms, okay? That's what causes you to feel that way. There can also be a delayed reaction. You might not feel it the instant that something plugs into you. You might feel it a few hours later. And just know that if that happens, there's really good information in my book on how to clear it right away so that it doesn't turn into a crazy psychic attack like what I went through. I want to save you from that so you don't have to go through it. The second indication that an entity, a dark being, is attaching to you, this one really shocks people. The second indication is that you are overcome with feelings of bliss and euphoria. And people say, but Maya, isn't it good to feel bliss? I mean, I love going to a spiritual event and getting blissed out and just feeling so amazing. And what I say to that is, it's a good thing to feel wonderful, but you need to feel grounded and centered. If you are at a spiritual event and all of a sudden you just feel total ecstasy and totally blissed out, that is a sign that there is something hooking into you, and what's happening is what one of my mentors calls spiritual anesthetic. So this entity is emitting something into your field that causes all of this bliss so that you have no idea that you are being hooked into. And this is used so often that people will be in these groups and they get totally blissed out like they're on drugs. So that's the distinction, though. Okay, so feeling uplifted, that's good. Feeling so blissed out like you're high, that's a red flag. Okay, that's a red flag that the spiritual anesthetic phenomenon is happening. And by the way, if you are ever at a spiritual event and something doesn't feel right to you, you have permission. You can give yourself permission to leave. You don't have to give anybody any valid reason. You can make something up. You can tell them you forgot you had other plans or whatever, and you just get the heck out of there. And because you are responsible for your safety energetically at all times. And then use some of my techniques in my book to clear your energy so nothing has a chance to get fully hooked in.
Yeah, that's right. That makes sense. And also, when you talk about the euphoria and the bliss, it sounds like you're talking about really feeling tremendously ungrounded with it. Because certainly people do want to have an experience that are on a spiritual path often of bliss because it's connection to the light. But that's a grounded experience. And what's happening with these folks is very ungrounded, so they become even more at risk, it sounds like, from what you're saying.
Yes, thank you,
Sounds
Patricia,
like a
for
chemical
that distinction. High. Yeah, that's a very, very important distinction. So, yes, so it's a very ungrounded kind of euphoria rather than feeling a grounded, centered kind of peace and bliss. Yep. Totally
that is unusual. Yeah, that's very, very interesting. So just in terms of just maybe some simple things you could give to our audience of other things they need to watch out for, because, again, there's a fine line here, Maya, with people that may need some mental health support. Let's talk about that a little bit, because sometimes that's the case. And at other times, it is truly an entity or something from another realm that has come to bother them and confuse them. So it's, how do you know the difference?
Yeah, that's a really important question there. So I actually train healers in doing psychic protection work. And one of the things that I told the group that I'm working with, I told them on the very first night of class, was that you have to understand that you are not a mental health specialist. Your specialty is in energy. So there is a fine line between where there are mental health issues, where there are not entities attached to a person, but they are experiencing a psychotic episode. And then there are people who are actually experiencing unwanted paranormal activity, and they are not having mental health issues, but the paranormal activity makes them think maybe they are. And then there's a third thing on the list, and that is, and this is in my professional opinion, in my field, and as you all know, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but in my observation, there's a third category, and that is when entities attached to a person who was mentally stable and mentally healthy, when certain entities attach into that person, those entities actually then end up causing mental illness. And what happens is they hook into the person, and then what I mentioned about energy cords applies here. The entity will feed off of their life force energy, and they will also send the person, whether it's depression, anxiety, cravings for addictive substances, or even sending them urges to do violent or horrific acts. And then when the person acts on that, then the entity feeds off of that energy. And it's this feedback loop that happens. So, so I am constantly on the lookout for good therapists out there that I can also refer people to, because sometimes there are mental health issues going on. And not only that, even if a mentally healthy person, if they start off mentally healthy, but then they are attacked by entities, you can be pretty certain they're going to end up with PTSD. So they need their therapist help for that too. Yeah. So both are needed. The spiritual aspect, and then the professional therapist assistance, especially obviously for people who are having mental health issues.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, what do you do privately with people? Do you help them clear these types of things that may have attached? Do you help them clear and protect themselves in individual sessions? And do you do that over Skype, or do you have to do that in person? How do you work with people?
Okay, so I do one-on-one sessions both in person and over the computer. It's similar to Skype, but a different program called Zoom. And what I do, so during this session, the first part is really valuable, just people having the opportunity to share their story with someone who understands and knows what they're talking about. Because part of the trauma, when people go through a psychic attack, any kind of unwanted paranormal activity, when they go through that, part of the trauma is that they don't have anybody else in their life who believes them. Everybody thinks that they're making it up or that it's all in their head. So they have the opportunity to share their story. And then also with my psychic abilities, I'm able to tune in and get to the bottom of exactly what's going on, what kind of entity it is, or how many, how it's attached to them, when it came in, if it's an ancestral issue. And then once we get through the evaluation of exactly what's going on, then I look intuitively, I tune in to see which techniques are going to work for their clearing. I also do long distance clearing work, but I find that also doing their own techniques at home, for example, clearing their house with physical tools like frankincense, burning frankincense, that's very helpful in tandem to any energy work that I do with them. There's also a very strong educational component, and I really emphasize this because there's a lot of people, whether it's people experiencing psychic attack or any other kind of issue, a lot of people just want someone to just fix them and just make it all better. But here's the thing. If someone has had a psychic attack experience, chances are they've had a long history of unwanted paranormal activity. Almost everyone that I interview when I work with them, I find out that this is not the first time. And so there's a lot of work for them to do in learning how to have healthier boundaries. They have to work on healing some of their past traumas because past traumas actually have an effect on their energy field and make them vulnerable to entities coming in and attaching to them. That's one of the biggest things that makes people vulnerable is past trauma. But as far as the educational,
that makes a lot of sense because it leaves a mark, putting it mildly.
It does.
And so I could see where that would possibly attract other things. Now, when you work with somebody and you see that there are entities around them or connected to them or both that are causing trouble, describe, if you can, what do they look like? Where are these entities from? And what in the world do they look like?
Well, what I find really fascinating is everybody that I work with, the situations are so different. There's not just like 3 different kinds of entities or whatever. I have actually worked with several clients that have had discarnate souls, so human souls that attached to them. So maybe they were at a hospital or a nursing home and a ghost attached to them and has been with them since then. So there's the typical ghost. I've had several clients who've had something that's called Jinn, D-J-I-N-N, and those guys are nasty. They are very difficult. Jinn, what they look like is white plasma. It's a big blob of white plasma. They are shapeshifters as well, so they will appear in different forms, but their actual form, how I see them, is this big flameless fires. They actually have a very loud voice so that the person will actually think, this has happened frequently with several clients and students who have thought that they had a spirit guide with them because this jinn was pretending to be a spirit guide. And because jinn can communicate telepathically with people so loudly, these people would think that they had this wonderful spirit guide with them that was giving them all these messages, only to find out that it wasn't actually a spirit guide at all. One of my students, she was meditating, and she saw her spirit guide, who she thought was Ascended Master Lady Nada. And she saw her, and she was very comforted and thought, oh, this must be my spirit guide. And then a couple of meditations later, when she was in meditation, she saw Lady Nada, and then her face changed and looked very frightening, like the facade flipped, and then she looked like Lady Nada again. And she contacted me and said, is this actually an Ascended Master, or is this a jinn? And I looked and I said, well, I'm really glad that you were savvy enough to question, because this really is not an Ascended Master. Those are 2 examples. There's a lot of demonic stuff that people have had attached to them. Another thing that you might find fascinating is that I've worked with people who've had what look like little worms and even like microscopic sized entities. And those take a lot of clearing work to get out. If you can imagine, if you had like a flea infestation in your house that was really terrible, some of these little small, they're like little bugs or little worms.
Where do they come from? I mean, obviously that's not a ghost image. This is something else. Where is this? Where does it come from?
Right. That's a very good question, Patricia. So I'm a seeker of truth, and I'm constantly trying to figure out I'm seeing this. Where is this coming from? I do believe that there are a lot of interdimensional beings that come through, as well as just your standard ghosts and demons. So I think the one client that I'm thinking of, I think these were interdimensional beings.
Mm-hmm. And can you share any stories where people have had these things attached, whatever they may be, or bothering them in some way, and then once these things were cleared out of the way, how did their lives change after that?
Let me think here if I have anybody who it's been enough time, because it's been just a couple of years. So let me think. I have a couple of little mini stories. So there's one woman that I worked with. She was having experiences with sleep paralysis, where she would wake up and there would be an entity on top of her and messing with her sexually as well, feeding off of her energy. And she was having this quite often. And in working with her and doing the evaluation, we discovered that this is something that's been going through her lineage. And so I saw that it was going through her family line, and I asked her about that, and she said, yes, her aunt and some other people in her family line have had similar issues. So I wasn't surprised to hear that. So I recommended actually some clearing. I don't remember exactly because I give everyone a different prescription based on what I'm getting intuitively. But I recall that I told her to burn frankincense, and there were certain essential oils that she used before bed. Also using salt. I recommended that she use salt around her bed, putting it around the whole perimeter of the bed. And when people are being attacked in bed, another really easy trick is to put it under the pillow. Put it under your pillow. Put just loose salt under your pillow. And she wrote me back, and she said she has not had any sleep paralysis or any indications of psychic attack in several months. So she's feeling a lot better now. Yep.
That is terrific.
So, yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
That's nice. Nice to have that kind of effect immediately like that. That's great. So, yeah, sleep paralysis is an interesting one, but seeing an entity, then it takes on a whole different aura, and it does need to be addressed, especially if she's being hurt or provoked by this thing. So, yeah, this is a fascinating field, and I think a lot of people don't realize that these things are around, and then, of course, it takes somebody like you to sometimes to be able to see them, because most people can't. Most people can't see this stuff.
Exactly. And actually, I have a couple of real quick tips if we have time.
Yeah, we do. Time? What are they? Yes. Okay. What are the tips?
Okay. So everybody who's listening, you might want to grab a pen and paper because I'm going to go through this really quick. This is a very holistic approach. And keep in mind, because of the time of this episode, we don't have time to go really deep into any more complicated techniques, but this is going to give you an overview of where to start. So a lot of people think that if they're having a psychic attack, they just kind of try to get rid of it with one technique. They kind of like throw spaghetti at the wall and say, kind of hope that it sticks. Like they're going to burn sage once. By the way, sage doesn't work for really difficult stuff usually, but they burn sage once and then they say it didn't work. So there's actually, based on my own experience and all of the information that I have and all the clients that I've worked with, it's really important to take this 5-part approach to psychic protection. So if you've been experiencing psychic attack and unwanted paranormal activity, you can certainly throw water on the fire to put it out, but chances are you'll have issues again later on down the road if you don't take a holistic approach. So the first thing is to keep your spirit and your energy strong. This means establishing a regular spiritual practice, connecting with the earth or divine or your own spirit, whatever your spiritual practice is for you. If you only wait until you're in an emergency, that's just not going to work for you. You have to have a daily practice. Number 2, you need to focus on keeping your body as strong and as healthy as you can. Obviously, you don't have control over everything, but do your best to have good nutrition, get rest, keep your stress level low, and take care of your wellness, because when your body is weak, that makes you vulnerable to psychic attack. Number 3, you need to also take care of your emotional and mental well-being. And that means to focus on releasing limiting beliefs, healing old wounds, allow yourself to process your emotions instead of stuffing it in. You also need to address past traumas, because unresolved past traumas also makes you vulnerable to psychic attack. Number 4, external clearing. So this is where you would burn sage, use salt, use amulets, talismans for protection, burning frankincense to drive out evil spirits. That's part of the bigger picture, doing your external clearing techniques. And then number 5 is intuitive development, developing your own psychic abilities so that you will also be able to discern what's what. If you go out and about in the world, to be able to see if it's a safe environment or not, to be able to see energies and feel whether something is safe or not for you. And I actually cover a lot of this in my book that'll help to get people started, Darkness Disguised as Light.
This is great. You've really organized the material nicely. And again, the name of the book is Darkness Disguised as Light. And the name of your website, please give that out again.
Sure. So my website is www.psychicprotectionsanctuary.com. And if you go on there and you enter your email address, you'll receive a free quiz to find out if you are vulnerable to psychic attack.
Wow, that's excellent. Excellent. Well, we're so glad you could come on the show with us tonight, Maya. Thank you so much. This has been great.
You're
again,
welcome.
People can reach out to you on your website. They can schedule a private consultation or take one of your classes in this and make sure that they are not vulnerable to this kind of thing when the veil is so very thin these days. Mm-hmm. It really is.
And Patricia, I also have a YouTube channel that has so many hours of free content, tons and tons of content. So that, if you go to youtube.com, then you can just type in the search bar Psychic Protection Sanctuary, and you will find my channel. And I also have a Facebook support group. So if you go to Facebook and type in Psychic Protection Sanctuary, you will find a Facebook group that is a support group for people going through psychic attack. And I also have a 6-month mentorship program on psychic protection, and you can find out information about that on my website.
Oh, that's great, Maya. Well, I think you thought of everything to cover this incredibly complex issue. So, again, many thanks for coming on the show. Everybody, the book, again, is Darkness Disguised as Light. Make sure you get it on Amazon. And we'll be back next week with another great show. Be sure to join us. And until then, we'll see you on the Blue Highway. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for another radio adventure with Supernatural Girls.
Hey, thank you so much, ladies, for having me.